Determinism is self-refuting ideology. Every paradigm has a metaphysics, an epistemology, and an ethics. Two of those legs, determinism is already going to lose. If all beliefs are conditioned based on, nature versus nurture, they're neurological, your brain's determined, you're conditioned by social patterns, well, then all knowledge claims are then beliefs. And if that's the case, then you can actually not make a universal knowledge claim. The same thing as if you were debating an argument for relativism. The claiming that relativism, that there is no truth as a truth statement, is counterfactual and contradicts itself, can't go anywhere. That's a self-defeating argument, especially within a debate that is premised on logic, reason, and all these different things.
Okay, this is a great point by Patrick. You can think of it like this. Determinists often believe that there is no free will because of materialism. Materialists believe there is nothing beyond the physical world. So living organisms are entirely the product of nature and nurture. This means that you have no free will because based on the biology you receive, your nature, you will always react and change in the same way according to the experiences you have, your nurture. This includes your desires and personality, because if these were entirely material, then they must follow the physical law of causation, which states that every event must have a prior cause. So say your decision to eat chocolate ice cream over vanilla is ultimately determined by prior events out of your control that made you favor chocolate ice cream over the vanilla ice cream. This idea is known as materialistic determinism. And here in Patrick's opening statement, he's pointing out that materialism, which depends on evolution, is self-defeating. Why? Well, this is because evolution selects for survivability and not logical truth. The animals that desire to survive and reproduce are the ones that will do so, whereas the ones that stand around trying to understand if maybe there's a lion behind that bush, or maybe it's just my friend. I wonder. Well, they're more likely to be eaten. Thus, based on materialistic evolution, the laws of logic are ultimately based on survivability, not the truth of reality. In this case, 2 plus 2 might not actually equal 4. We might be forced by evolution to think this is true because believing it is somehow useful to our survival. So, any logical argument made under this worldview is suspect because the worldview has undermined the ability to make logical claims. Now, it is important to stress that determinism does not require materialism to be true, although most materialists are also some type of determinist. Determinists don't argue that they don't think free will exists, but rather that it cannot exist under any worldview. So, whether there is a spiritual realm or not, determinists argue that free will does not exist, period. Patrick's point is a great point to refute materialism. However, he is debating the existence of free will, not materialism. Now, you might be asking, what is determinism then, if not the product of materialism? Well, determinism in a broad sense is simply the belief that everything is either caused or random. If it's random, then there is no free will because randomness implies a lack of choice. But if it's caused, it's either forcefully caused onto the being or it's caused by the being itself who wanted to do said thing. If you're forced to do something like sneeze, achoo, there is clearly no free will. But if you do something because you want to, then the question becomes, do you choose your wants? I encourage y'all to think deeply about this because I think we can understand we truly can't control our wants. But the short answer to that is definitely no. We have wants, but we do not control what we want, because if we controlled what we wanted, we would just be maximally happy. If we just had to switch what we wanted, then there would be no not being happy or pleased with our situation because we would just change what we want to match our situation. So if we were to be put in prison, all we'd have to do is say, okay, well now I want to be in prison, and we'd be happy. But that's not how the world works. So clearly we can't control our wants. Thus, since we can't control our wants, there is no free will. God in a spiritual realm can still exist with this type of determinism. It is then on the libertarian, though, to explain how free will can fit into this idea, which I personally think is possible, but I'll get to that later. If you like this clip, well, you can watch the whole thing right here. Or you can listen to it on Spotify, Apple Music, and wherever you listen to podcasts by searching for Truth and Tradition. I'll see you guys there.